Actually, he was the one that...
I'm ready anytime.
Okay. Supposed to go to Europe.
Good evening and welcome. Today is Tuesday, January 11th, 2022. We are convened as the Provo City School District Board of Education. We're meeting at 280 West, 940 North in Provo, Utah. The time is about 7:07 p.m. and we will begin with the roll call. And we will begin with our business administrator.
Derek Anderson.
Gina Hales, board member.
Jennifer Partridge, board member.
Rebecca Nielsen, board vice president.
Melanie Hall, board president.
Keith Rutell, superintendent.
Terry McCabe, board member.
Nate Bryson, board member.
Do we have a motion to convene?
I move that we convene the business meeting. Oh, not the business meeting. I'm looking at the wrong thing. I move that we convene wherever we are. Study session?
It's business meeting.
Business
You got it
meeting.
right?
Oh, we are in business meeting.
We are in business meeting.
Just kidding.
It's been a long day so far.
It has.
All right. Our opening remarks were to be by board member McKay Jensen, but he's not feeling well, so he's not here tonight. So I told him I would offer the invocation. So if you'll join me in a word of prayer. Our dear kind Heavenly Father, we're so grateful that we could meet here this evening as a school board to discuss the needs of the children of Provo. We ask you to bless us with thy inspiration and to be able to handle the challenges that will be coming forward with us in the future and now. We're so grateful for all thy many blessings, and we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. We will be having the Pledge of Allegiance led by Doug Finch.
Please stand. Repeat the Pledge of Allegiance with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we get to have our employee recognition and have the Provo Way Award. So I'll turn the time over to Jason Cox, our Deputy Superintendent.
Thank you again, board, for this opportunity to recognize these wonderful people. I'm going to call out their names. Those who are here, please come join me up on the front row in these open seats. Stand up so they can recognize you. Let's give them a round of applause. So we have this month Pablo Alves, Stephanie Dudley, Harmony Karchner, Alice Jane McKinney, and Robert Nelson. So we're so happy that we get this opportunity to recognize each of them for their great work. We have our video that we shot, and then afterwards we want to give you, the board, the opportunity to thank them personally. So after the video, we'll have you come up here and each one of them will be able to thank you. So we'll go to that point.
Good morning, Provo. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to Lakeview Elementary School. We're the Celebrations Committee, where we have a Provo Way Award for Instructional Assistant Pablo Alves.
So, on behalf of the Board of Education, I want to thank you for all that you do and hear that you just are doing wonderful things with the students, and we appreciate that. So here is a gift for you.
I'm representing Juliana Hosha. She's our recess supervisor, and she recommended you for the Provo Way Award. And she said that specifically out at recess, Pablo's always with the kids, starting games, having fun. He plays basketball, he's teaching them soccer, and he just really loves to have fun. And beyond the recess duties that he has, he works here in the Portuguese 6th grade class and also doing 504 assignments. And one thing really special about Pablo and Eloise, who Eloise is our 4th grade Portuguese teacher, they came from Brazil during COVID and left all of their lives to come here and start their life over, and they contribute so much to Lakeview, and we're so grateful to have both of you here. So congratulations.
Welcome, happy December. We're here celebrating some great people at Dixon, or one person especially, Stephanie Dudley. And so we're going to surprise her in the library where she works.
Stephanie, I'm Jennifer from the school board, and we want to congratulate you and thank you for all that you do here at Dixon. We really appreciate you. And we've got
She is the rock star of librarians, literally the rock star. The students here love her so much, and she has created an area where these students love to come in, they feel safe and seen, and she has done so many amazing things with these kids as far as programs, author visits, events that are on a Saturday that are not even in her work hours, and she's done so many wonderful things, and we just appreciate you. You're just an amazing girl.
I just want to echo what she said about students absolutely love you, and what you do here for our school is phenomenal. Also with our staff and our teachers, you work so well with them. We really appreciate it. Even she shows up on Friday mornings to play basketball with us at 6 a.m. and she holds her own. That's what we
Thank you. Thank you so much. Congratulations. Hello, and welcome to Edgemont Elementary. We are in for such a treat. We are here as a celebration committee to honor Harmony Karchner, but also we are breaking in to the Christmas sing-along. So you guys get to have a double fun event. So let's go in and see what's going on, and we're going to surprise Harmony.
Announcements. So if you will hold still for a second, we're turning the time over to our district people.
Hello. We are actually the Celebrations Committee from Provost City School District, and this is actually a surprise, but we are here to honor your principal, Harmony Karchner. Give it up for Harmony.
We just want to say thank you so much for all the amazing work you do here at Edgemont, and we just can't hear enough good things about it. But Suzanne Livingston, who's the Bureau Director of Nurses, is the one that nominated her for this award, so I'm going to turn some time over to her.
Your principal has been an amazing person through COVID. What can I say? She was so accommodating for the state to come down and help with testing and did such a great job. We couldn't have done it without your help and support, and let's give her a big hand. She's amazing.
Hi, we are the Celebrations Committee, and we are here at Rock Canyon Elementary to give the Provo Way Award to Alice Jane McKinney.
We just love you. Alice Jane, thank you so much for everything you do here at Rock Canyon. It's just amazing the things you do here. We just love you so much. So we want to turn the time over to Josh because he's the one that nominated you. And here you go. Congratulations.
So, I don't even know where to start with AJ. First off, you talk about a lady who's retired, and she loves being around kids so much. She comes back to work at the school. She has a heart of gold. She wears many hats around this place, as Seth can attest for. She helps him out with administrative duties around here at the school. She has her hat in with our paras and interventions. She goes into classrooms from kindergarten through 6th grade, helps out with students that are struggling. She also goes in there and still teaches sometimes and helps out if a teacher's sick. But I would say top notch for me when I look at AJ and think of the work that she does here at the school is definitely her selfless service. She puts everybody else, staff-wise, student-wise, above herself. And it's pretty amazing and incredible to see somebody at her age who still, she does, I'm always thinking about it. Not to say that in a bad way, but she's just always thinking about others, and especially the students here at the school before she's thinking about herself or even worrying about herself. So it's amazing to work with somebody like that. She's very, very disciplined, very responsible on task. I enjoy working with her, and it helps out also when you see eye to eye on a lot of things around the school too. So AJ, I don't know what else to say. You're great.
We're the Celebrations Committee, and we are here to celebrate Robert Nelson from our Child Nutrition Program.
All right,
He does-
Robert, hi, I'm Rebecca Nielsen from the school board, and on behalf of the rest of the board, we'd love to present you with the Provo Way Award this month, and thank you for all that you do here in the district.
Robert, we cannot say enough as managers. You are our go-to guy. If we need anything, whether it's Cisco or anything in the office, you're the man that we can call and count on to be there for us. And you have been like that since day one. You stepped into this office. You're kind, supportive, loving. There isn't enough that I can't say and the rest of this crew can't say about you and all that you do for our program.
Well, thank you. That's why I like to
Yeah, let's give him another round of applause.
Congrats, and I guess happy birthday too. Appreciate you. So awesome. Thanks so much for everything. Thank you. Way to go. Congratulations. Thank you. Congratulations. Love you. Thanks for all your hard work. Congrats again. Thank you so much. Thank you for everything.
Thank you.
Good job. And a little bird told me today is Harmony Karchner's birthday, so we can all wish her a happy birthday. And thank you for all those Provo Way recipients. It's so fun to celebrate the good things going on in our district. So thank you again. Next, we're going to have a school report by Cami Alvarez, the principal at Provost.
Hi, well, thank you. I'm excited to be here. I'm fairly new to Provost School District. I've been at Provost for about a year and a half, and it's kind of hard to follow the Provo Way Awards. Sorry, I'm not going to be as exciting as them. But I'll tell you one thing, I've been at lots of different school districts, and I love Provost School District. The people you guys have here in the district office, my staff, teachers, everybody, it's been a great experience for me. So I wanted to start to kind of give you guys a little bit of data so you can kind of see where we're at in the school. Right here you can kind of see the enrollment, and as you can see where the dip is, last year as many of the schools we experienced a dip in enrollment, but this year we're already past or right where we should be. So it's nice to see that we bounced back rather quickly after that COVID year. Or maybe it was because of me, I don't know. This next one, it kind of just goes through the demographics. As you can see, the biggest demographics we have. I always like to say one thing I love about Provost, I think it has a strong balance. As you can see, we have 57% Caucasian, and our other 36% is the highest of our Hispanic population. And then right here, the next one, you can see our ELL. And on the side, notice that it's just 1% difference. So while it may look a big difference year to year, it really is just a few percentage points. And so the last couple of years, we've stayed at that 25%. So 25% of our ELLs, of our students are ELL, and that's going to be an important thing I'll talk to you guys about today. One of the big goals I've had for my school has to do with our ELL population. Another one that's important is our economically disadvantaged over time. And as you can see, again, this kind of is dropping, but this can be really hard to tell because in 2020, the federal government, last year and this year, they gave free lunch to everyone, which actually I think is wonderful. But usually how we get our numbers is by the number of people parents opting in for free and reduced lunch. So it's really hard to tell whether that has to do with that or if there's change of demographics. So I don't know that I know well enough where we're going there. And now some of the exciting ones are student assessment data. And I went to just online to the State Department to find the data over time. And of course, you'll notice our 2019 and 20 is missing. But as you look at this, you will see that 2020-21, so last year, it did drop slightly. But I'll tell you, I was actually impressed by all the people we would have out on quarantine, or teachers, and the disruptions. I was really impressed and proud of like the teachers and the students for what they were able to do during that year. This next one, this represents our Acadience reading data. And as we look at this, the one thing that I notice a lot, first of all, we have an anomaly. Our fourth grade actually did better last year than they did previous years. But I especially noticed that the younger grades seem to take a bigger dip. And so that's another thing I've been very cautious of, and something that's been on our mind here at Provost when we make goals, is especially that foundational skill of reading and how to make sure we have kids who maybe didn't have preschool or didn't have a normal kind of kindergarten or things that were disrupted. So those were a couple, that's something also that I'll talk about of some of the challenges. And so as we go to the next one, our school challenges, one of them was reading, especially our younger grades. As we looked at the data last year, we noticed that the first grade had a really big dip, and that was the grade that kindergarten, you know, halfway through the year was gone, and so we noticed that and would target those spots specifically. And then the other thing when I got into this school is that we are identified as a TSI school through the state, which is Targeted School Improvement, and that is specifically because of our ELL population. Felt like our EL population should be performing higher, and so that again has been another big goal of ours. And I didn't put this here, but you'll notice also last year that was a group that tended to take a significant drop, not just at Provost, but across the state. So there was that group, COVID especially hit hard. So now what are we going to do to address these? So one of the first things I did when I came to Provost is I have a teacher leadership team. And I have 3 teachers at every grade level. So one teacher represents every grade level. And we come together every month and we review data. So we look at the data and see where it's at, and we try to disaggregate it. So for example, with our ELL data, right, we took it down to the name of every single student, so those teachers could see and be aware of what students were in their grades and which kids we really needed to help. So we took it down to that level, and then they would go back to their teams and talk about that data, and I let them lead and decide, okay, how do I want to address this? What can we do better? And we looked at specific skills, such as their reading, their writing, their speaking, listening, to know how can I help and what's the skill that we really need to focus on. So we do that with our monthly data. Of course, we have targeted interventions based on the skill and the student. So we drill down all the way so we know exactly what we need to target. The other thing we've been working on is parent engagement. That's going to be new this year, and we are bringing an ELL parent engagement group next month. It'll be our first time. And really, it's about making connections and getting to know each other and making sure everybody feels comfortable and getting their ideas to be able to know what we can do best, how we can better serve their children. We also have monthly ELL professional developments throughout the year. So those are some of the things we've done with our ELL and our reading. I should say that monthly data review is also something that we look at. And then with the younger grades, where I said, you know, those reading foundations are really important, the district, the state, they've really taken that on. All of our K-3 teachers have letters training, which talks about the foundational skills of reading and what's most important to teach students and how to teach them and what the science says. And then we also have this 95% core that has been implemented quite well at the school from the K through 3. And I've actually heard great things just talking to teachers about it and the things that they're noticing that kids are beginning to be able to do that they hadn't before. So those are some of the things that we're doing to address those challenges specifically of our ELL population and our early reading. And then some of our points of pride, though. We did get a recognition by the U.S. News Best Elementary Schools. This was from our 2018-2019. And they have different metrics they look at to use that. Rather than go through them all, there's a link there for anybody who would like to see how they do that. And then the other one, while our scores, they were lower last year, I think a lot of schools probably across the nation experienced that. This site, which is public for the state of Utah, you can click on that, and what it does that's so interesting is it compares like schools. So you see schools compared with similar demographics and how they performed. And on that, we beat every single school in English language arts and in reading. And there were 3 that beat us in science. And one, it was like by point something. So we did relatively really well in comparison to other schools. And some of those schools even they were going every single day. They didn't have the same disruptions that sometimes we did. I shouldn't say that because I don't know how many kids were in quarantine, but they did quite well. And I really owe that to the teachers and the students and the parents at the school that at Provost. A few other things, as I said, those early years and those foundational skills are so important. So one of the things is we moved from a 1 full day kindergarten class to we now have 2 full day kindergarten classes. All of our grade levels have 3 teachers, which makes for a good collaborative group. We have 1 full-time social worker. Another thing that's so great about Provost, when I got there, I have so many teachers who've been there for some over 20 years, or that they've been there so long. And so the teachers there stay there. They love the school. It's a part of who they are. So I have really strong, experienced teachers. Another thing that I was really surprised with at Provost was the community support. When I got there, I can't tell you how many emails I get from people wanting to contribute, wanting to give things. We have a really strong PTA, a strong community council. When we have parent nights, we have large turnout of people. So we really have a strong community there. And it's not rare for me when somebody new comes into the school, they always have some connection to Provost. Everybody always likes to tell me about something about Provost, so that's really nice. And then this year we also started a PBIS, Positive Behavior Intervention System, where we teach the expectations are taught and students are rewarded for character. And we have assemblies where we recognize students, and every week their names are drawn. And I think it's gone well because when we had an inside recess day, I was going to the 1st grade, and of course, when you have inside recess, what do you want to play? They wanted to play school. So I went in there, and they had made cougar cards and were giving me, hey, you get a cougar card for this. So I think that that's been well received by the students. So those are some of the things just in the short year and a half that I've been at Provost. And with that, do you have any questions for me?
I just have a question. Yes. This is wonderful. We're very lucky that we have you here at Provost now. I'm just curious, is the music still going on there?
Yes, it is still going on there. And even, that's another thing, there's some amazing teachers there. People who I felt like, boy, you're really, when I've gone in, I'm like, you're better than what you make yourself sound out to be. It is, and even when COVID hit, sometimes people took the specialties online. We made sure that they were still getting that in person. So all of our students, if they are there from K through 6, they learn the piano and they learn the violin. And our 6th grade, Lori Driggs, who teaches the violin, she did something this year it's been really great. She has a bucket band that the 6th graders play the buckets, and it's pretty cool. They've just shown me some of the videos, and I think the kids are really loving that. So, yes, it's well and alive.
Go ahead, Jennifer.
Well, Mrs. Alvarez, I want to thank you for all that you've done at Provost as the board member in that area. And I used to have kids at that school. I've heard so many happy parents, and everybody seems to just be loving what's happening at Provost right now. So thank you. I was just curious, with the measures you're taking with the English language learners, what results have you been seeing so far?
Well, we'll actually start seeing after this month is when we will have our middle data to be able to really get a gauge on it. And one of the things I was careful of is I don't want to bring too much at once. And I think I shared this in my community council. I used to work with failing schools, and one of the first things they say research-wise is for people to know. And so this first year, it's always been about, well, let's know. Let's know who the kids are. Let's know the areas they're struggling. Let's start with just that we know this. And so, I mean, when we talk about it, it's more of a 5-year plan, not a 1-year plan, but that's kind of the, right now where we're at, is being able to know.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Thank you so much for this presentation. It was wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kenny. Good job.
Next, we've come to the part of our meeting where we have public input. If you would like to address the board, on my right, your left, is a sheet that needs to be filled out, then handed over here to Bonnie, and then we will call you to the podium. While he's filling that out, I'm just going to go ahead and do the upcoming Google Calendar that we are moving from the study session. So just coming up on Tuesday, January 25th, will be a district, we'll have a study session at 7:30 a.m. And then Tuesday, February 8th, we'll have our study session and business meeting. And then Tuesday, February 15th, will be the PTA Council meeting and Founders Luncheon here at 12 p.m. The 22nd of February will be the Legislative Day on the Hill, and Friday, February 25th, will be our one of our biannual retreats. So, any questions about the upcoming Google Calendar items?
Did Cliff say we were meeting with the City Council?
No, we would just submit to them on the February 8th. We'll have that part of our agenda to decide the 3 to 4 redistricting, and then we'll send it on to them before the 17th. So.
How are you tonight?
Good, thank you.
You just want me to introduce myself?
Yeah, name and what area you're from.
Dave Lewis, West Side. Kids go to Provo High School. I just want to shout out 2 things. Provo High School you've done a phenomenal job hiring a great principal at Provo High, Jared Seitz. He's connected to the students more than most principals I've seen. He's committed. I don't know how many games, athletic events he hasn't gone to. And he's walking around with a boot and he's picking up garbage up in the bleachers. Great principal, thanks. And then, so my kids go to Provo, and I will tell you that Timpview's Veterans Day is got to be one of the best programs I've seen. I know veterans that have gone to it and feel it's kind of a different experience than the Vietnam vets that came home and were booed, and they're recognized and appreciated and valued at Timpview. And so I think it's a great opportunity to recognize our veterans, and I think it's awesome for the students there to be part of it and feel appreciation. And then I just think the ripple effect in the school, in the community, I wish it would go a few other places, but I appreciate what Timpview is doing with that program. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board? If not, thank you, Mr. Lewis, for it's nice to hear good comments about what's going on in our schools. So thank you so much. All right. Next, we're going to be, let's talk about the policy. Let's see. All right. Keith, do you want to talk a little bit about that policy?
Sure, this is a new policy. This has to do with schools that, especially their neighborhood schools, they're located in certain areas of town and right now are dealing with low student enrollments. We know that these low student enrollments occurred mainly last year, and these three schools have not fully recovered from that. And so this policy allows the board a lot of flexibility in the kinds of things that they can do in terms of dealing with smaller schools and smaller enrollments. And that does include redrawing boundaries or closing the schools eventually, but it also wants to give some encouragement and patience to those schools. So it outlines some of those details. We have a procedure which is going to be developed soon. We have a meeting with the three principals and others on council to talk through what the specific next steps will be on this. So I recommend this to you as a way of addressing some of the concerns that are happening as a result of COVID and declining enrollments in a couple of schools.
Is there a motion?
I move that we approve policy 6900.
I second it.
Okay, motion made by board member Nielsen and second made by board member Bryson. Is there any further discussion on this motion?
So the way it's written, it looks like you want to add on to it once you've done something and you've learned from it, and right? Am I getting?
I'm not sure I understand.
So the way I read it, there was a little section in red as well. It looks like once you've done this policy once, you want to be able to learn from it and add on and change. And so this isn't like a concrete plan. This is a, we'll fix things if we don't like what happened, or?
Well, it gives flexibility in dealing with schools like this, as mentioned in the policy and in some discussions I've had with some board members. There are some schools who immediately go to, if there's a small enrollment at a school, we got to go through a boundary redrawing process. We've got to go through closure of the school. Given where we've been with COVID and given some of the other challenges that may exist in those neighborhoods, it's just saying that we want to buy a little bit of time. In terms of changes to the policy itself, I do expect that at some point I'll come back to you with a revision or two on this, and also an edit. You know, by the time we get the procedure built, there's that certain section that you mentioned in red, we can delete that. But really that's it. This will work for this size of school, but we have schools of all shapes and sizes in this district, and so ultimately we want to build a more inclusive policy. Does that help?
Rebecca?
Terry, were you just referring to the part in red here that says yet to be developed in reference to the procedure?
No, just like the whole thing.
Okay.
I think this is just a good beginning point for us. So, and then we'll add to it as we go along. Okay. Any other further discussion on this motion? Okay, all those in favor indicate with aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes unanimously. During study session, we did not get a chance to discuss the consent calendar. So if you have any questions about the consent calendar or things you'd like to bring up, this would be a good time to do so.
I do have one question. I think this question is on the executive summary on page 15. This might go to Mark and Derek. We recently had a tour of Sunrise Preschool, and they told us that the pirate ship playground was torn out, and I wanted to know when that will be replaced. because it's not on the schedule on page 15, and I don't know when it is on the schedule to be replaced.
So I'll defer to Mark on that one. He probably has a better idea of what the plan is.
Mark knows everything there is to know about pirate.
Yeah.
They said the kids really loved the pirate ship playground, and they're so sad that it's gone.
Yeah, so unfortunately, when we removed that, there was some damage. And because of how custom that piece was, it was irreparable. So we removed it as a safety precaution. And the reason we're waiting to design that pit so it's ADA compliant, which will require some concrete adjustments and some better walkways and ramps. And so that's why we've hesitated a bit. Some of it has to do with the busy market, but we've got an architect that's looking at it, one of several locations.
So someone is designing it right now?
Yeah, we've got,
okay.
Yeah, so it'll be a pit adjustment to make it ADA compliant, and then a piece of equipment to replace that. It'll be sometime this summer.
Okay.
Any further questions? Just
Thanks,
again, just as a reminder, if you have questions, please submit those prior to the board meeting, and then you're welcome to ask these same questions during the meeting, just so that they can have the answers ready for you. Is there a motion for the consent calendar?
I move we approve the consent calendar.
Motion made by Board Member Partridge. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Board Member Hales. Is there any further discussion on this motion? All those in favor indicate with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next, we have a board member report by Member Gina Hales.
So I like to be very polished with my comments. I'm not going to be polished. I didn't have time to polish them out. So I am fairly certain that somebody is going to be upset with what I have to say, because I did not have time to go through and make sure everybody would be okay with every word that I said. But I wanted to go ahead and share a couple of things. I've been on the board for about a year, and it's been a good experience overall. And it's been a bad experience too, but it's been a mixed bag. And I just want to share two things. One thing that I will end with is something that we talked about in the USBA, Utah School Boards Association conference, which was this past weekend. And the first thing I want to talk about that I have thought a lot about even before I was elected to this position is the importance of representation. When I was approached, I had being on the school board or in any elected position was not on my bucket list. And so when I was approached to run for school board, I did not, this is not a surprise to anybody who has talked to me about this. I didn't want to run. I didn't want to do it. But it came down to two basic reasons why I agreed to run for office. One I'm not going to talk about tonight, and the other is because I felt that it was very important that kids who may not look the same as other people, as a lot of people around them, or who may be marginalized in any way, I thought it was really important for them to see somebody who looked different. Who had different life experiences. And this is not a knock on anyone who has served here or anyone who is currently serving. But I saw a need for more diversity, not just on the school board here in Provo, but in elected positions throughout the city, throughout the county, throughout the state, and I would argue throughout the country. And this does not mean, okay, I know I'm going to get a flood of hate mail. You can send it to me, that's fine. I won't make you send it to Nate this time, even though I think he secretly or not so secretly likes the hate mail. You can send it to me. But I like to think that I represent every kid in every school that I work with. But the importance of diversity, equity, and inclusion, at least part of it in my mind, is that we take a look at everybody. I don't care what color you are. I don't care what religion you're from. I don't care what sexual orientation you have. You matter, right? that not just students, this is parents, this is everybody in our community. You matter. And I want to represent you all equally. But I'm a social worker. I'm a bleeding heart social worker. I am a licensed clinical social worker. I like to look at the people who are struggling. What do they need? What can we help them with? Diversity, equity, inclusion is not about the color of your skin. It is not about pigmentation or lack thereof. It is about how do we bring everybody to the table. It's really hard as someone in the community to feel like your voice isn't being heard. But I would argue that it's just as hard as an elected official to make decisions for people that you don't understand where they're coming from, right? And so it's really important that we have some diversity. And I felt one of the reasons I agreed to run was because I could stand up in front of groups of people and say, look, I grew up in the school district. I experienced some not so great things because of the color of my skin and because, whatever. And I'm here, and I'm sitting on this board, and I'm at the table. And you can be at the table too. We need more of you at the table. That does not mean that my colleagues here need to step down. That means that we need to step up. And so that's my first piece. Representation is crucial. It's crucial for those who are underrepresented, or however you want to say it, but it's also crucial for us who are making the decisions. We need to hear from you. We need to know what you need. I don't know what you need if I haven't walked in your shoes, and I don't know what you need if you're not at the table. So let's figure out ways to get everybody to the table. White, black, brown, straight, whatever. LDS, not LDS, we want you at the table. And part of the reason I chose to run was so you could see that there are people up here that perhaps have had a different experience and maybe similar to yours. And again, I feel like I'm dissing my husband, who's my very wonderful, very white husband. I love him. I love my colleagues. I think we do a good job for the most part. We need to step it up. Everybody needs to step it up. And I think that as we work together, we can increase the diversity and inclusion. The last thing that I want to talk about is our opening plenary speaker for our board meeting, our board conference, whatever that was. I can't even remember if we're in a business meeting or what we're in. Talked about trust. And I have thought a lot about that. As a therapist, I've worked with people who a lot of what they're dealing with has to do with boundary violations and a loss of trust. So I've thought about it previously, but as a board member, and even in my personal life, I've looked at it from a different. I knew some of these things before, but I've learned it from a different angle, I guess is what I would say. And so a couple of things here that he talked about and that I've thought about. Number one, trust is essential to the health of any organization or of any society. It's necessary. You can't really get things done effectively if there's no trust. Another thing that I've learned, again, as a therapist, as a, as a board member, once trust is lost, it is mighty, mighty hard to regain. And we need to keep that in mind. And the thing that I've specifically been thinking about the last few months is my relationship to trust when it comes to information or knowledge. And for me, it's a key component. Information/knowledge is power. And the people who hold the information and the knowledge typically have the power. So how are we disseminating this information? Are we doing it in a timely, accurate, and complete manner? Are we making sure that people who may have inaccurate information get the accurate information, even if they disagree with you on some things? Are we, and having said that, I do feel that we try very hard, and as a district, we are working on this, and we are continually improving. But it's very difficult to make decisions when the information that you have is incorrect. I've experienced that in my personal life. I've experienced recently, and I've experienced that in my board life. I've experienced it. We've probably all experienced it. But I think it's very important for us as a board to remember, and I think it's important for the public to remember, that trust is vital. I feel that we, and not just this board that's sitting here today, but a decade ago, right? Some of the decisions that the board members at the board made a decade ago continue to negatively affect us in the trust category today. And I've also been very open in public meetings and in private meetings about this. And I think we're working on it. I think we have a ways to go, but I do think that is something that is very important as we build these relationships, as we work on increasing the trust. The role that information and knowledge plays is vital. And that goes back again to representation. That's one of the reasons representation is important, because when you're represented, when someone's there representing you, they get the information and they share it. And so I would like to end by saying that despite the fact that I did not want this job and it doesn't pay very well, there's lots of people who like to tell me, well, not lots, but there's a handful that like to say to me, I pay your salary, so I am your boss. And I would like to tell all of you that, give you some advice. You need to pay me more if you want to tell me what to do. I don't make that much money. My husband has to pick up that end. But I believe that I am in the right spot, despite the fact that I was very comfortable where I was before being here. I'm in the right spot. I'm in the right place. I'm where I need to be. I'm qualified to be here. I would say the same thing about every member of the school board. We have work to do, and we need your help. I have enjoyed, for the most part, working with the people that I've worked with. My favorite part, people ask me, what's your favorite part about the school board? It's going into the schools and seeing the kids, talking to the teachers and the principals. I love it. I wish I didn't have to talk about COVID and all that fun stuff, but it's part of the job. And I'm grateful for this opportunity that I have to be a member of this board and to represent all of the students and all of the families in Provo. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Board Member Hales. We're very lucky to have you on the board. Next, we'll have our Superintendent's Report.
Thank you. I have just 3 quick items. One is I have approved one in-state travel. This is the Timpview High School baseball team camp. And believe it or not, that's happening in January, in a couple of weeks, down in St. George. Secondly, I had the great opportunity last night to attend a CAPS presentation down at New Skin. I saw a few people from well, actually we had quite a good turnout from the community, staff here in Provo, and also leadership. Some of the people at the table over here and at the back table were at that event last night, and it was inspiring to see the work of the students. I made the comment to Clay Bingham, who is running that program, that it's not uncommon that when you go to talk to a teenager, you don't get a lot of full sentences or a really engaging conversation some of the time. These students were very invested in the work that they did. They could talk very well about the work they were doing. They were very articulate and well-versed in their materials. So that was enjoyable to see them so invested in this that they talked easily and convincingly, persuasively about the projects that they had been working on. So that was a nice event last night. And finally, I will just say to the public, Caleb Price and I will be working sometime tomorrow on some type of public statement about just an update about where we are on COVID, other illnesses, and those kinds of things. So I'm hoping we can get a good statement together and get that out tomorrow so that people can be updated on where we are. We have faced some challenges recently. Had Todd McKee not worked effectively with other administrators today, poor Jared Seitz that Mr. Lewis mentioned earlier tonight, he would have been all alone over at Provo High School today because his 3 assistant principals were off sick today. So we're dealing with a lot of illnesses with staff and students both. As we discussed in study session, Derek Anderson reported yesterday that we were one bus driver short of being unable to run our student transportation program yesterday. So we're a little nervous, and I have reassured people this is not like the Chicago Teachers Association where they were simply trying to work to rule. These are folks who are legitimately gone home sick. We encourage them not to come to school sick, so they're doing what they should. But it's an interesting time here in Utah County. So we're doing our best to manage this, and we're going to continue to try to manage it, and we'll try to provide some update on this tomorrow. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent. Well, we've come to the end of our agenda. We'd like to thank you for being here this evening. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
Thank you for being here.
And happy birthday, Nate.